Hi and welcome back to Purple Collar Life. It is a bright sunny one out here this morning, but it's cold. It was about 32 degrees when we got up this morning. We got a lot of work to do, but in today's video I want to talk to you about Facebook Marketplace fail, maybe. I'm probably not alone in being the guy who's looking on Facebook Marketplace for a good deal all the time. I've got a couple saved searches, some of those things I'm always looking for. I had been looking for a Bronco, found that nice Bronco this summer. Had been looking for a side-by-side a number of years ago, found this side-by-side with low hours, and ended up needing some work, but it's been a good tool for us here, gathering firewood and using it in the wintertime. You can see the flowering pear trees behind me have mostly lost their leaves now. We still have the oaks to lose their leaves. The maples lost all their leaves, but most of our front yard is pretty open, so we don't have a ton of leaves to deal with out front. My parents, on the other hand, they've got a lot of leaves. Their house is literally in the middle of trees, so their yard is constant leaves all throughout the fall season. So one of the things I'd been looking for on Facebook was a way to make it easier for them to pick up the leaves. So I've been on the hunt for a John Deere tractor with a bagging system that would make it easier to collect those leaves. And I found one. I've always liked these John Deere GX series. If you know much about the John Deere line, you probably know more than me about the GX in the lineup. The GX is in between the GT and the LX series tractors of the early 2000s. So this particular tractor is the GX255, 20 horsepower Kawasaki engine, power steering, and about 450 hours. I saw this listed on Marketplace and it was not listed with this MC519 cart, but when I was looking at the pictures I noticed something. So the Facebook Marketplace listing had this GX255 tractor listed with the 54-inch mowing deck for $2,200, but when I was looking at the pictures I noticed that on the deck right down here I saw this extra piece, and I knew from a little bit of John Deere knowledge that underneath that would be an extra pulley system, which meant that at one point this John Deere tractor was connected to a Powerflow system with the bagger. So I thought, I'm going to reach out to this guy. He was local here, and I said, do you happen to have the Powerflow and the bagger that goes with that tractor? He responded back and said, I haven't used it in a number of years. I haven't used the tractor at all in a number of years. But I do have the Powerflow. It doesn't have the bagger. It's got the 519 cart on it. I hadn't considered selling it all together, but if you're interested in it, I would do it all together. So I said, well, I want to come take a look at it. So when I got to the guy's house and looked at this tractor, it looked pretty much like you see it right now. Really nice and shiny. It did have a flat front tire, had the cart already attached to it. He walked out and explained that he hadn't used this in at least a couple years because he bought a house, and with the house that he bought, the previous owner had a John Deere X5 series that he went ahead and gave with the house, with the purchase of the house. So that guy had been using the John Deere X5 series and hadn't used his GX255 in at least 2 years. So I took a look around it. It looked like it was in pretty good shape. So I thought, well, for $2,200, including the Powerflow and the cart, it's probably not a horrible deal, but like anybody who shops on Facebook Marketplace, I usually like to negotiate a little bit, get the price lower. The key is always to buy low, sell high, whether you're talking about stocks or used equipment. So I talked to him a little bit and he said, look, I haven't used that Powerflow bagger or the cart even longer than I haven't used the John Deere GX255. I'm not even sure they work. In fact, when I took it out in the yard to try it out, there was a screeching noise, the belt flew off the deck, and the Powerflow stopped working. So he said, I know there's some issue with the Powerflow and the cart system. So he said he would do $2,000. I thought about it a little bit more and I thought, I'm not sure what I'll get into trying to get this thing fixed. So I asked him if he would do $1,500. he said he felt that was a pretty fair deal, because even if I had to put $500 into getting the Powerflow working right, I'd be at $2,000, and we both thought $2,000 for a John Deere tractor with 450 hours on it, Kawasaki engine, power steering, and the Powerflow in the cart is probably a fair deal. Now, I probably should have recorded more of this process along the way, but I was just anxious to get this thing going and down to my parents' house, because they were constantly blowing, raking, and trying to mow the leaves that were falling heavily in their front yard. So I got it home. You can see it does not have the Powerflow on it right now. Got it home, put the Powerflow on, got the belt reattached, got the spring reattached, looked like everything was in working order, followed the instruction manual on how to attach the belt. The belt has to twist between the pulley on the deck and the Powerflow, so I was trying to figure out which way I needed to get it to twist. Got it all connected, seemed like it was working okay. Started it in the garage and everything worked. The Powerflow spun, the deck spun. So I took it out in the backyard, went around our maple tree that at the time was still losing quite a few leaves. Did a great job that first pass around. I was looking and it sucked up every single leaf under the tree. On the second pass around the tree, it was a loud scraping noise, screeching noise. The deck came to a halt, the Powerflow came to a halt. The tractor struggled. It was already kind of missing a little bit when I was running it. I did notice that, but I figured probably needs a tune-up or new spark plugs. So brought it back up to the garage, limped up to the garage, and that was when I started to think, this might have been a Facebook Marketplace fail. Maybe looks are deceiving, and even though it looks nice and shiny and really good, maybe there's something mechanically wrong with the deck or the Powerflow or even the engine, and this might have been a money pit that I sunk some money into. So for almost 2 laps around the tree, this thing did a great job. So I thought, it's not connected wrong. There's got to be something wrong inside here. So I took a look at this spindle. It seemed solid, not like it was bound up at all. So I thought, well, it's not the spindle. Took a look at the deck. The deck belts seemed fine. The blades spun okay. But I did notice something on the other side of the deck. Now this Edge 54 deck is a nice deck. It's very similar to the 60-inch deck that goes on my John Deere 2210. Same type of height adjustment on the dolly wheels, very similar look, same thick metal makeup, but my 60-inch deck doesn't have this thing. And when I bought this tractor, it didn't have this thing either. So as the hook here, I wasn't sure exactly what that was for, but there was not this handle, this rod. So underneath the deck, when I had put the belt back on from the previous owner, I noticed that the spring was really hard to stretch out to get it to adjust, but just thought that's how it worked. Well, in doing some more research, I discovered I was missing a key component. This handle and the rod with a tensioner goes back to another spring that I was totally missing that tightens the belt on the deck from the engine. So I figured what's going on is my belt's too loose, it's slipping. It works for a little bit picking up some leaves, but as soon as there's a bigger load, if I'm going through some more leaves, maybe the deck just spins too much, or the motor spins too much for the deck and it throws that belt. I know I didn't have this part. I was going to order it online, but I thought I really like to use the OEM parts. So I took the whole tractor up to the John Deere dealer. I explained the situation and said, you know, I bought this used, obviously. It hadn't been running a couple years. The guy said the Powerflow wasn't working at the time. I thought I could get it working, and I'm having no luck. So they took it in the shop, and it actually took a couple weeks because they were pretty busy this time of year. They called me back, and they said, Chad, we found several things wrong with this unit. Wanted to talk through what all it needs before we do any more work to it. And I said, okay. And they said, well, first of all, the deck is missing the handle and the tensioner that make the belt stay on the deck to keep the deck running. And I said, okay, so let's go ahead and put that on. And they said, once we get into that, we'll be able to determine if the spindles are bad or if a spindle is bad or what all it needs there. And I said, okay, let's look into that, and then let me know what it needs for the Powerflow. So just a short time later, they called me back, and they said, okay, so what the deck needs is the tension handle, an idler pulley, a spring, a couple bushings, and 1 spindle. That total for the parts and labor is about $500, and I thought, oh, there's my $500 that I had talked the previous owner down. So now I'm at $2,000 on this machine, and I said, okay, let's go ahead and do that. That at least gets the tractor all working right. Will that make the Powerflow work right? And they said, unfortunately, no. And those Powerflows, when they were new, cost somewhere between $600 and $1,000, but they don't make them for this tractor and this deck anymore. So they said to get the parts that this Powerflow needed to rebuild it, to make it work right, was going to be $1,200. And I said, well, I'm not interested in that. Let's do the $500. We'll get this working as a tractor with a 54-inch mower deck, and then I'll have to decide what to do from there, because I thought I had seen a couple other Powerflow units on Facebook Marketplace. I thought I could buy another one for a couple $100, borrow the parts off of that to make one good working unit, and then I'd have, for $2,200, the tractor that was originally advertised for $2,200, but it was advertised as just a tractor and deck. Now I'd have a tractor with a rebuilt, perfectly working deck and a rebuilt, perfectly working Powerflow with the MC19 cart for $2,200. So I thought, basically getting exactly what I wanted for the price it was listed at. So for $500, I got the tractor back, the deck all fixed up, and this thing mows like a dream. It's quiet, nice clean cut across the ground, and that's perfect. Got the Powerflow disassembled to figure out what was wrong with it, and what was wrong is there is a shaft that goes from the inside impeller of the Powerflow, where it's creating the vacuum to pull the leaves off the ground and then push them up into the cart. That shaft cuts through a metal plate, and on the other side of that plate is the spindle that the belt connects to inside the Powerflow. Well, that shaft had broken free of the metal plate. So when I was looking at other Powerflow systems to steal parts from, it was really hard to find one that was built for the 54-inch deck on the GX255, because they are unique part numbers based on the deck and the tractor. So I was having no luck finding the right parts I would need to rebuild this thing. And the ones I found that were in close to working order were already $700 or $800, and I did not want to spend another $700 or $800. So the Powerflow unit itself, we disassembled, and Jennifer's dad has it. He's going to try to weld the spindle and the shaft with the spindle and the impeller back onto that plate to see if we can make it work, so that this is a machine that will work as I had intended to pick up all the leaves then at Mom and Dad's house. Now, as you can see, most of the leaves are down except for the oak leaves. So I don't know that we'll get this running this fall the way I had hoped. So that's my story and my Facebook Marketplace fail. Usually I do really good at finding really good deals, and they're tools we can use or something I can fix up a little bit and resell it to make a little bit of money. This one, it's a really nice tractor, and I have enjoyed having it. We've got an oil change and a spark plug change video in the hopes to get it running a little bit better, so you'll see that coming up in a future release here on the channel. If you like videos about equipment like this and maintaining your property, make sure you click that like button and subscribe to us here on Purple Collar Life if you're not already following us, because there will be more information about this tractor if we can get it to work right. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and take the cart off, and then we're gonna mow some here so you can see how nice this thing cuts now. The power steering is pretty cool on the John Deere GX255. Like I said, this is a kind of in between the GT series of its time and the LX series. And this is actually, the GX series is kind of one of the tractors I've been looking at, because they're usually a little bit less expensive than the GTs, but they're a little bit better quality than the LX. So let's take this off. We'll give it a try mowing here so you can see that. So assuming we get this all working perfectly, I'll do a future video about why I like this MC19 cart behind these John Deere tractors. Instead of being like a trailer that tows behind you, this is actually attached to the framework of the tractor with a couple dolly wheels. So it's just following exactly where you go, a little bit easier to maneuver than a trailer towing behind you. So you're gonna push in the spring and slide out the lever here. Takes 2 hands. The other side, lift the handle up, can either tilt it back or forward. Just like that. Nice, easy steering. In the springtime, when the yard's so wet, these nice wide tires float a little bit easier along the ground, keep it from rutting it up. We can make a future video about how to start and operate. Right now, let's just do some mowing. Take the parking brake off, give us some throttle. I mostly just want to cut up the leaves, so I'm going to lower the deck down to 3 1/4. So that did a pretty nice job. The 54-inch deck and the John Deere GX255 did mince up those leaves. I need to blow them out away from the trees a little bit here with the blower, but I don't think it minced them up quite as well as the Toro TimeCutter. I think the blade tip speed on that TimeCutter is much higher than on the 54-inch deck here on the John Deere. But it was a nice, comfortable ride going around those trees, mincing up the leaves. So the question is, if I end up at $2,000 invested in this machine, 450 hours, the shape it's in, and the Powerflow never works for me, was it still a good deal? That's what I'm debating in my head. I probably could find a GX255 for less than $2,000 in good working condition. Would it only have 450 hours? I don't know that. That's pretty low hours for a 2004 or 2005 John Deere light garden tractor like this is. So leave your comments down below. Was this a good deal, or was this a Facebook Marketplace fail? Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative and entertaining, please give us a big thumbs up. Leave your comments down below. Share this with a friend, and then hopefully we'll see you again the next time. I will do an update in the future on whether or not Jennifer's dad was able to get that Powerflow working for us so that it will pick up the leaves and gather them like I had intended at my parents' house. In the meantime, it's probably almost time to put this away for winter. We do have that video about the oil change and changing the spark plugs. So there will be another GX255 video coming out soon. Hopefully we'll see you again the next time. Thanks for watching. We always appreciate your support. We know that you have a lot of videos to choose from on YouTube, and we're glad you click on ours. And thank you so much to those of you who always click that like button, always leave a comment. We truly appreciate all the support. 450.4 hours.